Good Monday evening, and welcome to This and That, the podcast. I'm your host, Joe Gilloway, and along with my partner, Bill Bostic, we hope to bring you guests and topics you'll find both fun and captivating from the worlds of local politics, arts and leisure, pop culture, and beyond. And my partner, Bill Bostic, is off tonight, incidentally. Our sponsors for tonight's show and for every This and That, the podcast are, where are they? Where's my sponsors? There they are. The Robert H. Hoke American Legion Post 272 on North Mountain Road, Team PA, AAU Basketball, and Rickabaz Electric. Thanks to these great local businesses for their continued support of This and That, the podcast. This is incidentally episode number 36. We started back in the beginning of April, and we love it. We're on a roll. We're getting a chance to introduce the area to some interesting people, some great topics, and we'll let you know just in a moment who else we have coming up here. Our disclaimer for This and That, the podcast is the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants who voice them and do not necessarily reflect the positions held by This and That, the podcast as an entity, Bill or myself, or the sponsors who support the show. So anyway, upcoming, and this is exciting. We have these three gentlemen all booked. We have dates for them. On the left there is Maestro, our music director, composer, whatever you prefer, Stuart Molina from the Harrisburg Symphony. We're going to have him on next Wednesday, the 3rd of December. And then the following Thursday, the 11th, the fella in the middle is Dr. Bob Lombardi, executive director of the PIAA, which is the governing body that oversees high school sports. And he just retired, and I believe he's still in office or in his position until the end of the year. I'm not sure, but either way, he is coming on the show, and we're excited about that. And then the following Thursday, December 18th, we have public servant activist Eric Epstein. This guy's been around for a long time. I mean, he was an activist back when TMI was a thing, back in '79, and he's got a lot of stories to tell, a lot of interesting stories. So we're going to talk about, we're going to be all over the map with Eric Epstein, and we're excited to have him. And then we haven't booked this one yet, a date. I talked to Chris Franklin, AKA Handles. He's a Susquehanna Township high school grad, and he's been a Harlem Globetrotter for quite a while. Now he's very active in his community. He has a little bit more opportunity to spend some time away from basketball, and he's very involved in helping members in need in his community. So we will have Chris Franklin on probably sometime in the next 4 to 5 weeks. So a lot of interesting and fun guests coming up, and we're looking forward to having them all on. So anyway, tonight we have three members of the Harrisburg, the greater Harrisburg area culinary world, let's say, three chefs that I know from working in the industry for a number of years. And these are not only great chefs, very well-respected men in the culinary field, but outside as well. Some really nice guys, and I'm excited to have them on. None of them kicked or screamed. They said yes right away, and I appreciate that. And but I've always found chefs that, and even though I worked around them for a long, long time, I just respect the heck out of what they do, how talented they are, how hardworking they are. How much they're forced to interact with a lot of other people that, sometimes aren't the easiest people to work with, and it's just part of the industry. And we're going to hear about all that stuff tonight. So let's bring them all three in. Let's start with Chef Tom Long. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing well. Chef, can I use HACC Culinary School? I know there's probably a more is that where we're going to say you're from?
Well, I'm an executive chef at HACC. I am
Okay.
also involved in the HACC Culinary Arts program.
Okay.
I'm in partial retirement now.
Okay. All right.
10 years I oversaw all the food service at HACC.
Okay. Yeah, I always knew it as HACC Culinary School or HACC Culinary Program, and I think that the average person would understand that before all those other fancy names. So welcome to the show, Chef.
Thank you very much.
Chef Phil Nusinov from Country Club of Harrisburg. Chef, thank you.
Joe, thank you.
Appreciate it. And no introduction needed for Chef John Reis. He is a, let's say, somewhat newly retired chef, executive chef from Hilton Harrisburg. How long have you been retired from Hilton, Chef?
Oh, probably about 3.5 years.
Okay, so
Yeah, but
newly retired.
I go there every once in a while to kind of, keep my feet in the door, just
Okay.
to say,
Did they like seeing you show up?
oh, they love it. When I walk into the door, they can smell me a mile away.
I'm sure that they can. All right, so I think one of the more interesting things, at least in my estimation, about chefs is I love to know how they got their start. A lot of chefs, they learn from their mom or their grandmother, or an older brother or sister, and some never touched anything until they got out of school. Chef Long, how did you start learning to cook?
Well, I started in a quick service restaurant in the area that was called Elby's.
Elby's?
Or Big Boy. And they were owned by Davenport. My first job was a busboy when I was like 15 years old. And I got moved to the cook's line, and I cooked for a couple of years. I wanted to go into management, so I did that. And then I was lucky enough to meet my mentor at the Expo.
Can you hold on just a second, Chef? Sure. I don't mean to interrupt you. We have some background noise somewhere. Does anybody have a TV on?
Mm-mm.
All right. Okay. We can hear you. I hear some kind of noise there. So you were at Davenport's and you met your mentor there.
I met my mentor at the Expo.
Okay.
And that was Dr. Chef Hauser. And he was, at that time, starting the Chef's Apprenticeship Program for the Central Pennsylvania Chefs Association. And I was in the very first class. It started in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a program that was called through HACC.
Okay.
So that's how I got my start. They took a chance on me, and I'd never looked back.
I like that. They took a chance on you. Yeah, that's great. How about Chef Phil Nusinov? Anybody teach you how to cook at home, or did you learn outside somewhere?
Well, my grandmother, my great grandmother, when I was very young, I remember being in the kitchen with them. It was some of my earliest memories. I just kind of fell into it professionally, though. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and had I was busting tables, and I had a buddy of mine say, "Why don't you give the kitchen a shot?" And I moved back, started making salads, and ended up in culinary school. And 30 years later, here I am.
Wow. Never turned back, huh?
Never.
That's awesome. I always like the grandmother or the mother story, though, because a lot of people learn that way, How about you, Chef Reis? How'd you learn to cook?
Yeah, it was a lot of the same things. When I was a younger kid, my dad worked, my mom worked 2 jobs. My dad was always working. I had 3 brothers, and if we're going to eat, somebody has to do the cooking. So guess who started doing the cooking? Me. So I started cooking for my brothers, because when my dad used to try to cook for us, he always used to give us the same thing. One day it was hot dogs with beans. The next day it was beans with hot dogs. And so I just got tired of that. So meanwhile, my mother told me to says, "Why don't you find a job at the hotel?" So one of my neighbors who happened to work in housekeeping department, work at this hotel in Hartford. She introduced me to the chef. The chef, without even asking any questions, put me to working right away. Not realizing I was only 15 years old, but the chef did not know that. He put me to work at 15. I worked there. I was in that hotel for 17 years, and all of a sudden, I pretty much worked with some great chefs, some German chefs, an Italian chef, a French chef, and I became the executive chef in the same building 17 years later. So I started working there as a 15-year-old. I became the executive chef there at a young age. So, and I just loved it. And I haven't done anything else in my life except cook. So don't ask me to do anything else. I don't know, nothing.
So you mentioned like hot dogs and beans, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
what I always find interesting, or what I want to know, is, Chef Long, what'd you have for dinner tonight?
Oh, shake and bake chicken thighs.
Okay, that's why I asked. That's exactly why I asked. A lot of times, man, once you're getting away for a night or whatever, even if you're a chef, you just want something quick, and shake and bake's not too bad, for around the house. It does. Chef Nusinov, what'd you have for dinner tonight?
We had tacos this evening.
Okay, there we go again. Chef Reis, how about you?
I love hot dogs and sauerkraut. But today we had a food truck. We had a food truck in our neighborhood, so they were doing. I had a buffalo chicken taco. I had a taco, which was pretty good. It was pretty good.
So it's not always on the real high end of the
No,
culinary scale when you guys have some downtime, right?
Right.
nope, never.
I like to watch, and now they're starting to show it again. The Anthony Bourdain, and I liked him as a chef, but I think it's an interesting show. And sometimes, like, if you guys ever watched that before, he's at the Sizzler, the steakhouse, the cheap buffet, and he's talking about this food, like it's something foie gras and tenderloin, prime tenderloin. And does anybody here? Do you guys like junk at all? Fast food or real quick stuff like that? Chef Reis, you're nodding. What do you
I mean,
like?
I don't like junk food. No, I'm eating more
Right.
healthy now. But the only time I eat junk food was if I travel a lot. But
Right.
what do you consider junk food? Is not gourmet food. And
Right.
something simple food, but not necessarily junk food. Junk food at home that I prepare in the healthier way.
I would eat more of
hamburgers.
it too if I could.
Yeah.
I'm eating healthier too. How about you,
Yeah.
Chef Phil? Do you like junk food at all?
I do my best not to.
Yeah.
I would agree with what Chef Reese said. Simple food, not necessarily garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So let's get into HACC Culinary, Chef Long.
Sure.
You've taught for people our age, they're kids, they're young adults though, for decades. And what was it like to interact? It's one thing that you're in your field, you're cooking, you're teaching people how to cook, but you also have to manage other, lots of other people at the same time. What was that experience like, interacting with these kids?
It was a great experience. There was always the students that didn't come clean and say, "Oh, I can be there," or sometimes they wouldn't show up, but that was the minority.
Mm-hmm.
We worked with a lot of international students at the college, and we had some of the best stories from some of the people that didn't give up. Other people didn't give a chance, and then they wound up working in our kitchen, and they turned into superstars. And we actually had one student that came with us who was very shy. He reminded you of Big Mike of the movie Blindside. He was a big guy and very smart. And he was from Niger. And he started working with us, and people started to say, "Is Bashir working today? I was wondering if he could make my omelet."
Right. Yeah.
Just he had that knack.
Yeah.
And then after his work visa expired, the pandemic happened right at the same time. So he kind of got stuck, and I said, "Why don't you try the culinary arts program?" So he got enrolled, and this is a different culture. He had to get permission from his parents. This guy was like 30 years old.
Wow.
To do that. It's not the culture we have in America, but he did, and he excelled. And I got a text from him like last March. He was starting to do Ramadan catering down in Norfolk, Virginia, and he was texting me questions on how to price, and I was so proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
That he took it that far and became that person.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Those great things that we have.
For the viewers, I want you to know that that HACC Culinary is a very highly regarded, highly respected culinary school that, these kids don't have to go to CIA or Johnson and Wales to become fabulous chefs. And I'm sure you have, story after story after story about people that are just kind of setting the world on fire,
Yeah, we do. And, it's really about your own passion and your persistence. So I got my start in the ACS Chef's Apprenticeship program. And within 10 years, I was helping with the apprenticeship program in our chapter, trying to guide other students through. And it changed my life. There's just no other way to say it.
Well, you guys do a fabulous job.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yep. Chef Nusinov, working at a country club. We talked before we went on the air, it's a little bit of a different gig. I mean, when you're a chef, no matter where you are, it's going to be a little bit different, at least than the last place or the next place maybe. But you might have, and they're not literally bosses, but you have a lot of people at a country club that, they're there for a reason. And one of it is because they want to try to see things or have things the way that they want them. I'm really dancing I'm kind of walking on ice here, but I think the conditions sometimes can be a little more demanding is what I'm trying to say at a country club. Is that fair? A fair assessment?
That's fair.
And I remember, full disclosure, I sold to you for about a year or so professionally. And I remember how much of a priority it was for you to make sure that you were buying and serving food that all these members wanted. You know, it had to be about the members first. Talk about that experience with having to kind of interact and satisfy, 400 people.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that want a lot of different things on the menu. Menu comes out, we run with it for a little while, and I will hear from one of the committees. Well, how come you did this? How come you took this off? How about a shrimp cocktail? I take all that feedback and try and on my next menu that comes out, try and get a lot of that stuff on. You're not always going to be able to make everybody happy. For the most part, people are receptive, and when you try to accommodate them, they appreciate that.
And that's down to the pool snack bar too, though, right?
It is.
I remember how much you cared and invested in making sure that you had the right food at the snack bar.
We try. There's a few members that will have a couple requests, and they're really the only ones that ask for it.
Right.
I have one guy who eats turkey burgers, so I keep turkey burgers there for him. Another one with Impossible Burgers I keep for one member, and actually I've started keeping rice pudding for one particular member. Likes having a little rice pudding after dinner, so I make sure I have a little cup for him.
I like rice pudding too. That's good.
It's not Portuguese, is it? Because that's a very Portuguese tradition, rice pudding.
No, it's not Portuguese.
It's the best rice pudding Portuguese way. But the Portuguese, we make a good Portuguese rice.
You got a recipe I could get from you, Chef?
Yeah, I'll send you one.
There we go. We're getting something accomplished here tonight. So we have a viewer here that wants to kind of give you guys a shout out. Don Lynch. Everybody know Don from
We all know Don Lynch.
with and for Don. Don was my boss at Cisco for a number of years. Don says, how lucky we are to have chefs of this caliber in Central PA. Happy to see you all. Thanks for all you have contributed to the industry. And
thanks, Don.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. There's John Velios. Hello, chefs. Chef Phil, one of the best chefs this area has ever seen. And that's John Velios from Cisco. And I agree with that too. Don and John and I all worked together, and we were kind of on the other side of things. We were consultants and we sold you guys food, but don't think for a second that people like us didn't respect the heck out of what you guys do, because we know it's not easy, and I couldn't have found a better thing to do for 22 years. That's for sure, than to interact with guys like you and your employees and your bosses. And so Chef Reis, how about you? Your last job, your last major job was, I guess your last chef job was at Hilton Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm.
And, the one thing that always intrigued me about that is how many different kind of areas you had to oversee. Of course, you had how many different restaurants?
At that time, we had 3 restaurants.
You have 3 restaurants, and you have
banquets for 1,000 people,
Right. All going on at once,
yeah.
Especially during the busier time of the year.
Yeah.
Did you have to find great assistants? Let me ask you that.
I was so very fortunate there. I had the best staff I could have asked for. I had an amazing staff. Sometimes I look at some pictures of the old days and, man, look at the crew that I had when I was there. And the good thing about it, all my sous chefs that work with me, they're all still there, except one guy, he's the executive chef at Willow's at Ashcombs now. But all my other sous chefs, they're still there. They're still there. And the difference between me, some of the chefs that I work with, they're different than me. When I hire a person, I always look at the first thing that I look for is not necessarily the skills, but the attitudes. The attitudes. They're good person, good background. I give them a chance, train them, and they become so much more loyal to you in the long run, because they started from scratch. And probably half of my employees were there with me for 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. and that's what, and so they became so loyal. Whatever I needed to do, I didn't even have to tell them. They knew what I wanted done, and they did it.
Yeah, that
But
makes
I
the
had
ride
some,
a lot smoother. That's for sure.
I had some really good chefs there. All of them, from Mike Grillo, John Fabian, Justin Godfrey, Tony Bianco, and Jason Viscount. If you take a look at some of these restaurants in the area, pretty much all of them came to the Hilton at one time or another. So I had an amazing staff, and that's why I go there every once in a while. I miss them. I go over there and say hi, and sometimes they put me to work, which
Do
is
they
okay
really?
with me.
So,
Which is okay with me. I don't mind. I probably go there 3-4 times a year to help them out. Sometimes it's not to help out; just they want to see my beautiful face, I guess.
I'm sure
I
they
don't know.
do. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Just
Well, I'm
I
sure that you made an impact on their lives like they did
yeah,
on yours. That's for sure.
yeah. I had a lot of fun with them.
Chef Tom Long, when's the last time you had to wash a big pile of dishes?
About 3 weeks ago.
Okay. I figured it wasn't that long. I want the people that are watching to know that when you become a chef, no matter how many certificates you have or how beautiful you look, like Chef Reis with his coat and his hat on, you never get that far away from having to do the grunt work, right?
Never.
I don't know.
So how about you, Chef Phil? Have you washed dishes recently?
Oh, all the time.
I love it. When I wrote this question down, I knew it was going to be like resounding yeses,
Saturday, I actually watched some. So
Did you have somebody call off, or just busy, or just they were
no,
there and they needed
I
time?
don't bring a dishwasher until a little later in the day,
Okay.
and they'll pile up sometimes, and so we'll jump on them and take care of them before the dish guy comes in. Dish guy comes in and has a giant stack in front of him. He's liable to say F this and turn around and walk out the door.
Right.
But
I know Chef Reis, you said up until you retired, you said part of what you were doing was washing dishes pretty regularly, right?
and the fun thing about washing dishes, sometimes sometimes if you have and I'm saying a rough day, a paperwork day, full of so much paperwork, so much, you just get out of the office and go in to wash dishes. It clears your mind.
Right.
It's a job that I don't have to think about anything. Just put the dishes in and take them out at the other end.
Right.
So it's very relaxing and very that's why I always did it.
So do you guys into celebrity chefs at all? Do you watch any Food Network or anything like that?
I used to. I don't watch a whole lot of TV anymore.
Anybody have like a favorite celebrity chef or just a celebrity chef that you like? Wow.
I can't think. The only one I watched just to bust his chops was Rocco De Spirito.
Yeah.
He used to have that show called
The restaurant.
That's right, the restaurant. Yeah. The restaurant's always on fire. It's always having emergencies. So I saw him while he was doing the show live somewhere, and I says, Rocco, I mean, how can you run a kitchen like that? I mean, I could never run a place like that. So it made me feel good. At least my kitchen's not like that. The other day we went into Robert Irvine. Robert Irvine was at our PRLA meeting in Lancaster a couple weeks ago. He just did a little chat. He was, we just talked a little bit with that. He's he's a good guy. He did a lot for some of the restaurants, but that's about it.
We met him when he was down there doing his Restaurant Impossible at what's it called, Dodge City.
Dodge City, yeah.
Let me tell you guys, it worked. I mean, they were struggling a little bit, at the time. Of course, you have to be struggling to qualify for that show, and I mean, they've been really knocking it out of the park ever since then. That was quite a while ago. That's a good place to eat, I think. So,
Cisco brought Robert Irvine to one of their food shows a few years back.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the one chef I like, and I haven't seen him in a while, the French guy, Michel. I forget. I think he's got a restaurant in New York City. I'm sure most of them do, but yeah, I guess that since I'm kind of more removed from the industry than you guys, I still like to watch some of those Food Network shows, but you guys probably just have to get away from it all, So anyway, let's go to what do you like to do with your downtime, Chef Long? I mean, sure you have some family but what do you like to do just to get away from everything?
That's interesting. Well, I carved dice for a long time, but I don't do that anymore.
Oh, we were going to get to that. That's
okay. So
we can talk about that now, though.
Yeah. Well, I stopped carving ice, but yes, for 30 plus years, I had an ice carving business.
There he is.
That was kind of my therapy.
That looks like Hotel Hershey there.
That is the Hotel Hershey.
It looks like a Model A or something like that. What kind of?
It was an antique car for the Pennsylvania Auto Association.
Okay.
I was setting it up in the lobby. But yes.
Were there any? How often were there any like colossal fails when you were carving ice? Could you just screw the whole thing up?
Not very often.
No. Okay.
I had to buy the ice. I had to spend the time doing it. I think I maybe had one or two.
Right.
That I had to start over, but I was very well organized. The customer a lot of times gave me the idea because they would come to you and say, "Hey, can you make this? Because I know you can." And then, sure enough, you'd have to come up and and do what they wanted. But that used to be, like my second life side hustle. But now that I'm not doing that, do a lot of time gardening.
Okay.
Which I love to do. I also have a weird I collect miniature liquor bottles.
Miniature liquor bottles.
Yes, that's
full or empty.
Full, John.
They lose their value when they're empty, I would imagine.
They do. That's absolutely right. But that's because I probably have well over 1,000.
Oh wow! You mean like the airplane ones, or bigger than that?
The airplane bottles. Yep.
Okay.
And I have some from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and I have some new ones, and it's fascinating. What they'll go through to make a bottle. They're just, some of them are just beautiful. So I have them displayed in glass cases, but that's one of the things my wife and I will do. We'll take a road trip to Maryland, or
That's
Delaware.
cool. Nice. How about you, Chef Phil? What do you like? I know you have kids, right?
I have one.
Okay, you have one kid.
I have one.
What do you like to do? Let's say either by yourself, with your wife, with your kid. I mean, what do you like to do to get away?
I like to play golf. I like to get in the woods from time to time. And like Chef Tom said, I have a garden also.
Do you still have the garden up at the club?
I do.
Yeah, I remember a couple times walking up there and you were over there kind of digging away,
Nothing growing right now. It's done for the year, but yeah, it's still there. It's good to, if I didn't have it, I feel like I would get a lot less time out of the kitchen.
Right. Yeah. Chef Reis. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chef.
No, I was just going to say it gives me a time to an excuse to walk away and get out of the kitchen for a little bit.
Yeah, and you look like, whenever I saw you up there doing that, you look like you were enjoying it, like you were relaxed,
I do enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. Chef Reis, you're retired, semi-retired.
Semi-retired.
You seem like you're pretty active, though. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, I do a couple of days a week at John Gross distributor. I just go there, work the deli department, cut some steaks, and make some grab-and-go meals for people to take home and prepare for dinner. I have 3 grandkids. I spend a lot of time with my younger ones. They have sports activities pretty much every weekend, except now they're a little off for a couple weeks. Even soccer, basketball, baseball. So I follow them around a lot. I don't do much gardening. I do have a fig tree out in the back that didn't produce as many figs as I wanted this year. I like the outdoor. I like to cut the grass and pretty much it. But I have a hard time staying home. I like vacations, and I try to go on vacations a lot. But I don't do a lot except go to work 2-3 days a week and go to the gym every day of the week and stay out of the house and find something to do. But I do I would like to do a lot of things with my wife and go on vacations and trips and stuff like that.
You're going to live to 110, Chef.
I hope so.
Guys like you,
hope so.
As long as you don't slow down, man.
I try not to slow down.
I admire.
My wife wants me to slow down. I said no. I said got plenty of time to slow down when I'm dead.
Right. I admire that. For sure.
I got plenty of time to do that.
So, Chef Long, what do you like most about the culinary field business? What's the most gratifying to you?
So twofold. Obviously, you like being part of customers' events and making them special. I have a question I have on my interview questions when I ask any applicant, why do you like the food service business? And if they don't say, well, I really like making people happy, and I get that answer probably 90% of the time, I hire that person. but I think the other side too is seeing people develop. I love that part of. I think as an executive chef, you have to be an educator somewhat, because that's how you train and have a loyal staff. John's a perfect example of how long those people were loyal to him, and he obviously kept them engaged and kept them learning, and I like that part of challenging our people. The looks on their faces, we're gonna do that, and I said, yeah, we're gonna start doing, and it builds excitement.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so I think that's it. So making customers happy, obviously, but seeing how your staff develops in a tough environment. So
right, Chef Phil Nusinov, what about you? What's the most gratifying or satisfying aspect of your career or job?
Once again, I would say making people happy. We have a summer camp, and there's kids at the summer camp, and it's all kids, but they, we get a lot of feedback from the kids. They really enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember when I'd be up there sometime, that place would just be packed, and everybody's just having fun and running around, and the excitement in the air, and that was a busy time of year for you and your staff too. And I think what you do and what you did, Chef Reis, is not completely unlike what Chef Long does. I mean, obviously he has a more structured. He was working at a school, a culinary school, but Chef Phil Nusinov, you still have people reporting to you, and you've had the opportunity, where I'm going with this, to watch people grow and to get better, and to start out maybe not knowing even how to turn the dishwasher on and off, and probably next thing you know, a few years later, they're shoulder to shoulder with you, preparing great dishes. How gratifying is that?
You ask me, or you ask Chef
I'm
Reis?
asking you, Chef Phil.
It's great. It's when seeing how people have grown, and whether you've been a part of that, and they've been a part of that, working together, it's definitely gratifying.
Chef Reis, what was their favorite type of food to prepare? Did you like the white tablecloth? Did you like the kind of bar and grill atmosphere? Maybe the catering, the weddings? Did you have a favorite, or one that you kind of were the best at and you really liked?
And now my favorite always, when I used to have a kamika with my sous chefs. What's your strength? What's your strength? Then I used to ask them what their strength is, and I let them take their strengths, and then I took whatever their weaknesses were. So I was always big in banquets. I love the catering side of the Hilton. The more people, the better. If I had a party for 500, 600, the more the merrier.
You're a glutton for punishment, man.
I was not into the fine dining little, tweezers on a plate to put in. That was not me.
Right.
Just give me 500 customers.
That's why
I had a couple of chefs. You take care of this, I'll take care of this part, and it's like a marriage. You gotta have, you gotta.
Yeah, I could see that you embrace the team element of it. Yeah. So Stephen Gump wants to say, great group of chefs presenting this evening. I have worked professionally or personally with two of these chefs. Chef Tom has been my mentor and close friend of mine for the last 10 years. I wouldn't be the chef I am today without his guidance and leadership. Thank you for everything you have done for me professionally and personally. That's Stephen Gump, Chef Tom Long. Want to tell us about Stephen Gump? How much did you pay him for that compliment?
I didn't pay him anything.
I know you didn't.
Chef Steve is an outstanding member of the HACC Culinary team, and we're really lucky to have him. And as I've gone into transitional retirement, he's had to step up and do more, and he's just done a wonderful job, really. So I thank you very much, Steve. But it's really, a lot of it was you.
So he's just an example of what we were talking about 5 or 10 minutes ago, about the relationships that you've made and the opportunities you've had to watch people grow under you. And, they end up to the point where they're kind of shoulder to shoulder with you,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's an exciting part of any industry, to watch people grow up around you.
Except one thing, when you watch them grow, and then guess what? And then go find and then go to another job. But that's
Ah,
always a good thing to do. At least,
I was
you
gonna
know,
gonna
they're
say
bettering themselves.
that's your job.
I know, I know, I know.
That's your job.
I just got met for about 30 seconds. That's okay. Good for them.
Yeah.
so talk about Chef Reese. Where do you like? We're going to give some restaurants or maybe some chefs in the area an opportunity to have some nice things said about them. Where do you like to go, Chef Reese, to go out and have a bite to eat?
It's a tough question because I cook at almost 90% of the time. I always try to go to restaurants that I know the chefs work for me at one time, so I know the food's
Okay.
going to be it's going to be good.
Right.
I guess I go see Jason Viscount's place, Greystone, or the Public House, or Range Inn. I go to the Hilton every once in a while. My daughter always told me never go to any always go to freestanding restaurants, filming restaurants, any restaurant that's sustainable restaurant. Don't go to any. She hates me when I go to. I'm not going to mention any names. Some of these corporate restaurants. She wants me to
No, no.
stay olive oil. A place in Camp Hill. There's a lot of really nice Mediterranean food.
Absolutely. Yes, they do.
They do a very very good job. Uh, Thea's does a pretty good job, and Anne Marie does a pretty good job over there. So I
Yes, she
always try
does.
to go to smaller restaurants that are, that I know have good food, and if I know the chef, it's even better. So that's the kind of restaurants. But going back on Tom's thing a little while ago with all his things that he gets involved with. Probably one of the most important things that I do right now is staying involved in the community. I go to all the OAC committees and culinary committees in the area, all the Dauphin County, Cumberland, Perry, Harrisburg Area Community College, Lebanon County. But one thing that I'm very involved throughout there is Pro Start. There's a competition that the PRLA does every year, and they do at State College, and we move in a tour. She's of OTEC schools or middle schools. They come to this and they prepare food in front of 20 judges, and the judges, and I enjoy being part of that and teaching these kids, and watching these kids prepare some amazing meals with just a butane burner, and that's pretty much it.
That's the
I enjoy.
challenge of it, right?
That's the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just finished a mystery basket through a PRLA. It was just all virtual cooking, and I just got the award, the winner today. There's a mystery basket that a food broker donates to them, and they have to prepare 3 courses, and then we virtually over the Zoom we critique them, and we grade them according to what we see on the video and according to what they explain, what kind of ingredients they put in there, and then we grade them for that. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that immensely.
So you can't get away from
No,
it, can you?
I cannot get away from that.
I
No.
love that. That's awesome, man.
It's fun.
Yep. Chef Phil Nusinov, where do you like to go if you're gonna? And I think you too probably don't go out to eat a whole lot, having a family and all that. But you want to shout anybody out in the area that you like their place, or you like their food?
We do a lot of ethnic,
Okay.
and a lot of carry out
Right.
these days, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Yeah. But we like Indian, Thai. Tonight we had tacos. Usually ethnic here at my house.
Right. Yeah, I have a grandson who just turned 14, and he's liked ethnic food since he was a little boy. So that's a kind of a advantage for me because I do too. But whenever I've asked him since he was a kid, like, where do you want to go? How about Indian? How about Korean, Thai, and so that I do the same thing. I mean, it kind of never gets old if you keep cycling it. So how about you, Chef Long? Do you have a place you like to go in the area, or a chef that you like to eat
there's a
their food?
couple places. As far as one of my favorite restaurants was probably 1700 down at the Hilton. My neighbor is actually John Fabian, who was the exec chef there, and we went there for our 40th anniversary, and it was like being wined and dined and old school and great service and stuff you don't see anymore. But as far as places that I really like, Mangi Mangi is an Italian restaurant down on 743. It's owned by a husband and wife, and they're absolutely great service, great Italian food. The teamwork there is amazing. And then there's a place in Hershey called the Chocolate Grill. that does very well. They just have a very diverse menu. You can get cheesesteak or you can get paella. I mean, and it's all presented nicely and well prepared. And I always imagine like what it's like running those kitchens, not that I couldn't, but with the talent, and one of their desserts the owner makes, just that kind of commitment. So that's why they're good.
Right. Okay. Who bakes? Do any of you bake? Do you all bake?
Dabble in it a little bit.
Okay. And the reason I asked is because I don't think until I got into and I know this isn't about me, but this is how I found out about this. Just somebody could be the best chef in the world, and that doesn't mean that they're a great baker. They're two distinct sciences, right?
Yes.
Is that the way it kind of works? Chef Reis, have you baked your whole life, your whole professional career?
It's like washing dishes. If I was having a really rough day in the kitchen, just go in the bake shop and start baking something.
Right.
Stay there for an hour or 2 hours, just relax. It's a separate room. And I love to bake. I love cakes and pies. And one thing we did at Delta, we did all the desserts for the restaurants and most of the pies for banquets. So that was pretty much my that's my job this week for Thanksgiving. We're going over my in-laws' house, and that's what I'm doing. And I got to bring dessert. I haven't figured out what I'm making yet, but I got to bring dessert.
They're fortunate that you're coming with dessert. That's
you better believe it. They love my desserts.
So for those at home, Chef Long, what's the difference between cooking and baking? And there is a distinct difference.
Absolutely. Well, baking is more of a science. So when you put it's a formula. It's not a recipe. So the things that are in there, you need to follow the procedure exactly, and you have to have the balance of the leavening ingredient, the structure, all those kind of things, the right temperature. Everything has to be followed to a T. Where cooking is more of an expression. So you can have a basic recipe on how you do things, but you might like your chicken marsala with more mushrooms than somebody else, or whatever. So it doesn't change the recipe; it just changes the amount of ingredients. Where baking is very much science. And I baked. I was the exec chef at the Holy Spirit Hospital for 9 years, and about 2 months after I got there, they fired the baker because they said, "Well, we got you." So all of a sudden, I had to throw that on my
trial by fire.
Yeah, well, I baked in different places, so I wasn't afraid of it.
Okay.
This was, I did apple strudel for 1,500 one time.
Wow.
Okay. But it worked.
So Don Lynch says, baking is a science. It's hard to recover from an error in baking. You can't just throw a little more butter or a little more oil or, Yeah. So let's see. Is it Marija Donegan? I hope I have that right. Marija. If I got that wrong, I apologize. I like to say baking is like chemistry and cooking is like philosophy. LOL. So, yeah. Okay, let's kind of take this down the home stretch. I'm going to ask Chef Nusinov. This has to be kind of a busy, somewhat stressful time of year for you, right? Is there a lot of parties, a lot of members having like their holiday parties and stuff like that?
It's getting ready to pick up after Thanksgiving.
Give the viewers an idea of what happens, from the end of November to early next year in a busy country club.
Well, we'll have probably every day we'll have something going on. We have a la carte going on, but there'll be banquets every day, probably starting in December. Sometimes it might have 2 or 3 going off at the same time. Sometimes it might just be one big one. But and then we have to-go orders going out also, and it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. We get a much needed break in January.
Right.
Once we get through, the end of the year.
You're going to play golf the whole way through the winter if the weather holds up a little bit for you?
No, it's already a little cold out there.
All right. Chef Reis, what are you going to do for the holidays? You going to work a little bit at John Gross?
A little bit, that's pretty much it. Yeah, but going back to Phil, I remember those days. People always used to ask me, do you like Christmas and Thanksgiving? I said, nope. I said, why? Because I'm so tired by the time I finish. Christmas is not fun for us. It's fun, but it's constantly something going on. I used to have like 20, 30 banquets at the same time, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with the 600 going in. Oh, God. But it was fun, but, you don't have time to enjoy it yourself.
Everybody and their
But,
uncle's throwing a party
that's it. That's
in
it.
December.
But that's about it. I work a couple of days a week, a couple of days this week, getting stuff ready for the holidays, doing some side dishes, some sweet potato casserole, green bean, typical stuff that people can have for Thanksgiving. Otherwise, just doing nothing.
Chef Long,
Enjoying
are you
it.
going to be cooking for the holidays? I think there's three different. There's the Thanksgiving, Christmas if you celebrate, and then even New Year's. So do you do something for each one of those holidays?
Yes, we do. Actually, I and my wife help prepare the Thanksgiving dinner for our family. They come by, and we have a great time. We make sure they have lots of leftovers. Christmas, we also make some food, and then New Year's Day, we do the traditional pork and sauerkraut, and then we go on diets.
I'm the same way. That's one of my favorite meals: pork and sauerkraut, mashed potatoes, just regular old good sweet corn.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Thank you very much, man. This has been a thrill, and I mean it too. I mean, if I had a friend that asked me, "What are you going to learn from those guys, man? You did this for so many years." I said, "It doesn't matter. I never get tired of chefs, and I really don't." And I got the biggest smile on my face when I read Stephen Gump's, and I was just joking about how much they pay you for the comment. But when I read that, before I read it on the air, I just got warm inside. I thought, this is what it's all about. These guys work so hard. You guys work so hard. And whenever you can get a little bit of a payback like that, from somebody, and Chef Reis, you talked about watching all these people grow up and go out and run their own restaurants, and Chef Phil, you said the same thing. Some of the guys that kind of grew up around you and beside you, they're out there. You have to give them their wings sometimes, and it's just so gratifying, for them to have had a chance to work with you guys, and thanks again for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. If you guys ever need anything from me, I'm a phone call, a text, or an email away. I'm here anytime you need me. Okay.
It's fun. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do this more often.
I would like to.
Yeah.
I'll do it again. I mean it. I'd like to do it again.
Yeah.
So viewers, thank you very much for tuning in. Let's take one more look at our sponsors here. The American Legion, Post 272 on North Mountain Road, Team PA AAU basketball, and Rickabaz Electric. Thanks for your continued support of our little podcast here. We really appreciate it. For Chef Tom Long, Chef Phil Nusinov, and Chef John Reis, I'm Joe Gilloway. This is This and That, the podcast. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Have a great evening and a great holiday. We really appreciate it.